G'day, and thanks for joining me. I'm Faintly Saintly, and this is Humble Choice Special Pass for March 2026. In this series, we check out the offering of the Humble Choice bundle each month to compare reviews, value, and compatibility of each game on offer. My goal is to provide you with all the information you need to decide. Will you smash the Choose Games button, or will you pass and hope for a better offering next month? As with last month, we'll be going in blind on this one, with a live review and reaction rather than a scripted review. The format of this series is still evolving, so please feel free to let me know if you found this useful or if there's anything you'd like to see done a bit differently. And if you do find it useful, please consider subscribing. It helps me out a lot and keeps you informed when these videos are released. In addition to this series, I do cover new and upcoming indie and VR games, so stick around if you'd like to see more of those. And with that, let's get stuck right in. And our first game of the bundle is Tempest Rising. Now, this is one I've had my eye on for quite a while. It's been out for about a year now, and it's been on my wish list ever since, and I keep trying to pull the trigger, but I just can't bring myself to do it. The game is still priced quite high. It is 62 Australian dollars currently, and I believe that's actually gone up a couple of times since release about a year ago. It is occasionally on sale, but never quite to the extent that I'm willing to pull the trigger. Anyway, it looks like holding off has paid off for me, because now it's in the Humble Choice bundle and I can get this for the one low price of the bundle. So good for me and good for you if you've been waiting as well. This is a very heavily inspired spiritual successor to Command & Conquer, I would say. It tries to fill the void that the demise of that franchise has left behind, and as you can probably tell from the gameplay here, it's kind of familiar with the base building and all that kind of thing. It's very, very Command & Conquer at its core. Different factions, you've got multiplayer, you've got skirmish, you've got campaigns, all the usual fare. So as mentioned, it's been out for about a year, since April 2025. It currently sells for $62. It interestingly is bundled with Command & Conquer Remastered Collection as well, so there's a little bit of recognition there. Steam Deck compatibility is playable but not verified, so from the looks of it, the game functions and works and appears correctly, but the text might be a little bit small. You might get the occasional non-Steam Deck controller icon, and you might need to use the on-screen keyboard for some things, but the game will work if you can put up with those other little challenges. Lifetime reviews are 88% very positive. Recent reviews are only 83% very positive, so let's scroll down there and see what that's all about. Now, although it's been out for a year, I believe it is still receiving updates, and we can probably just have a quick look here. The next update has been announced for March 10, so it's at about a week away. Lots of quality of life and balance changes, plus a ladder reset. Okay, pretty good. So they haven't abandoned the game, it's still being worked on and getting fixes and new content, which is nice, as you can see here. So it is still actively being improved, which is always a plus. Anyway, let's check out some of these reviews and see what people are saying. Live crashes to desktop. Let's see if that becomes a common theme. 150 hours, nostalgic, really good. Great game, but still waiting for Vedi to come out, which might be an extra faction, I'm not entirely sure. Very good RTS, solid campaign, good units, feels like Command & Conquer or Red Alert, which is beautiful for those of us who miss those games dearly. What did some of the negative reviews say? 300 hours. It says it's had 1,000 plus. I don't know how that... across multiple accounts. Interesting. It's heavily held back by poor management and slow updates. But okay, I don't think that's a huge issue. Patches take months to arrive. Yep, that's reasonable, I think. So there's not enough maps, not enough support for competitive or multiplayer. If you're buying it for the single player, you might get some enjoyment out of it. If you're looking for a good multiplayer RTS, I honestly can't recommend buying this, so fair enough. Fair enough. Multiplayer may be a little bit lackluster. There's just a bit of a lack of content by the sounds of it. You might get tired of the same maps over and over, that kind of thing. Can't recommend it at full price now. Thankfully, if we're getting the bundle, we're not getting it at full price. The factions are unbalanced and the gameplay feels ridiculous. Alright. Let's see if anyone else shares these sentiments, shall we? I can't actually see any more negative reviews. Let's see. After reading the end-user license agreement, they've been going on about that since it was released, because it has one of those blanket license agreements where they can collect your gameplay data for bug fixing and improvements, that kind of thing. If that's something you're conscious of, read the end user license agreement. You'll find, at least when I skimmed over it, would have been about a year ago, it's pretty much the standard stuff these days. It's not great, it's not comfortable, but I think it's just sadly becoming the norm. But anyway, have a read if that concerns you. In any case, I've been waiting to get this game. This is the perfect opportunity. So for me, that is a smash. An easy win to start with, and really whatever else comes in this bundle, I think it's already worth it for me. So definitely one I'll be checking out. Anyway, let's move on. And the next game in the bundle is Chants of Sennaar. I'm possibly not saying that right. This is not one I've ever heard of. This is an award-winning puzzle adventure game. You play as a traveller on a quest to reunite the peoples of the Tower. Observe, listen, and decipher ancient languages in a fascinating universe. That's interesting. So we've got some like hieroglyphs here. So you need to basically learn how to read it, and you decipher some of these ancient languages. Actually, it looks really cool. I like the art style. Reminds me of, was it Superliminal? Is that what that game was? No. The one with the shifting perspectives and things. It was kind of cel-shaded. Anyway. Looks good. This was released in September 2023, so it's a couple of years old now. Currently sells for about $21. On sale for about $17, so little discount there. Still cheaper to get it in the bundle if you are interested in it. It is Steam Deck verified, which is great to see. So you can play this one on the go. I'm trying to work out what the perspective is. It looks like it's a point-and-click adventure almost. Yeah, I guess so. Except you're not in first person, but it looks. Interesting. The reviews are overwhelmingly positive, with 98% lifetime positive and 98% recent. That is possibly the highest and most consistent overwhelmingly positive score I've ever seen. So that probably says a lot. There is a third-party end-user license agreement, not seeing any de novo or other DRMs attached, which is always a plus. Let's scroll down and see what people are saying. 7 hours, lovely little game. A couple of stealth sections were annoying. Communication links, stuff where you were translating. UI could be better. Fair enough. Really nice little game. Fully expected to like the language-based puzzle mechanic because I'm a language nerd. What I didn't expect is how much the game world and story would resonate with me. You can tell the devs had something to say and really put their hearts into it. Really fun puzzle game with an interesting translating mechanic that doesn't overstay its welcome. So it sounds like it's not a huge slog of a game, but it's just a short, dense experience, which is, you know, beautifully crafted from start to finish by the sounds of it. 25 hours in. I'm just looking at some of the play times. They're all relatively low, so maybe that does back up that idea that, yep, you'll get a playthrough done in about 10 hours, give or take, based on some of these. And then the game's over. It's not one of those ones where it's a live service or a grind or anything like that. It's just you play the game, you experience it, and you walk away done, which sometimes is really refreshing, as much of a fan of open world games as I am. I'm trying now to find a negative review, and there's none, because, again, 98% of them are positive. But there are less than 500 out there. Let's have a look. Just check out some of these play times. After an hour, 3 hours, 14 hours. The game is very good, but I'm leaving this negative review for people looking for downsides that the positive reviews might not highlight. Here's mine. The game also forces you through annoying stealth section. Okay, so there's been a couple of mentions of that. I like stealth games, but I signed up for a language deduction puzzle, so passing those was a real bore. Fair enough too. Fair enough. So it looks like that's the main sort of complaint that most people have. This is more of an old school adventure game than a puzzle game about language. So that sort of maybe backs up my theory that it was like an old point and click game. Feels really slow, filled with too simple puzzles and unfitting mechanics. Stealth sections get a mention. They don't feel fitting. When it comes to solving the language, it's relatively simple. Okay. It's obviously loved and looks great, but if you're expecting a deep puzzle game, I'm not sure this is it. Fair enough. While the glyphs were fun to translate, the endless walking up and down stairs and winding through similar looking locations outweighed the entertainment. So it might get a little bit repetitive outside of the actual puzzles themselves. That guy had, what, 23 hours of gameplay time, so he's probably walked up and down a whole lot of staircases. In any case, there are a few legitimate criticisms, I would say, but I mean, even look at this. Everyone loves it. if you're after a fun little puzzle game that won't outstay its welcome, this looks like it's one to check out. For me, yeah, I'd never heard of it before, but I've read enough to know that I'm interested, and I'll definitely be giving this one a go. So we'll move on. The next game is Sworn. Sworn is a 1-to-4 multiplayer co-op action roguelike. Okay, explore and reclaim a fallen Camelot from the reign of a corrupted Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. Interesting concept. This one is a indie co-op action roguelike hack and slash. So it's a top-down perspective. Obviously you've got your equipment and skill trees and that kind of thing. Probably the usual sort of fare from this kind of game. Looks pretty much what you'd expect. Interesting, that's not one that I've heard of. Oh, and that's because it's very new. That's not old at all. It's only come out a few months ago, really. Well, 6 months ago now. Time flies. In any case, the price is $36.50 as a standard. There are lots of DLCs by the looks of it, which include cosmetics and more cosmetics and a digital art book. Okay, so it's more of a support thing. You know, you can pay for some cosmetics. Doesn't look like there's any pay to win or any additional content beyond that, which is nice. So that's purely optional. Steam Deck verified, which is nice to see. And the most recent update was in December. Okay, so still relatively active. Let's check out some of the reviews, shall we? 83% very positive lifetime, 71% positive recent. That's a fair dip. 83% positive is kind of impressive, 71 is kind of not. So let's see what's changed. 60 hours in. This user says this game is missing 2 critical features: the ability to save progress and continue a solo run, enabling reconnection in multiplayer. Feels really frustrating to be an hour into a run on a harder difficulty with a couple of friends and lose it because a blip in someone's connection boots them and there's no way to get them back. Okay, that is frustrating and does seem like a bit of an oversight. Most co-op games these days don't have these issues. If you do get a disconnection, it's generally quite easy to join back in, so I can see why that would be frustrating and something you'd hope the devs would address. Devs did not fix a bug that was there since early release, which made 2 of the characters... is that a troll? They responded. Don't know. Maybe we'll just leave that one alone. Whole session is kicked and the run is scrapped if any person has connection issues. Ah, that's interesting. Slightly different to what this guy said. He said one person can get kicked and not be able to rejoin, but this is saying the whole session is kicked and the run is scrapped if that happens. So they're within a couple of weeks of each other. Maybe that got fixed, but interesting. How has this game been? Very positive. How? I'm seriously confused because this product costs $25. You know what else costs $25? Hades 2. You know what this product is? An incompetent ripoff. Okay, tell it like it is. Pretty fun, a lot like Hades. Okay, so obviously that is the comparison here. A slightly worse Hades, but it's multiplayer at its peak. Fair enough. So I think basically we've heard enough to know that if you liked Hades and you thought, gee, this would be great playing with friends, this might be the one for you. Now, I'm actually not sure if Hades 2 has co-op, to be quite honest, but in any case, if you're a fan of the genre, you probably are familiar with that anyway. Although those crashes and kicks are a little bit concerning, I think it would probably depend on you and who you're playing with. If you have a stable connection, you might have a better time. In any case, it sounds flawed. It's not the highest rated game, but it sounds like there is something to enjoy here, especially if you've got a few friends and you would like to play a similar game to Hades. For me, I don't really see the appeal. I mean, I've played enough of these games. It looks like it does pretty much everything the same. Like, I'm not seeing that. That could be any one of 10 games that I've played, and I wouldn't be able to tell the difference, to be frank. So while it could be good, some of the issues and the fact that it's not really original or, you know, jumping out at me, I'm probably just going to give this one a miss.
Bummer.
Okay, and the next game on our list is Etrian Odyssey III HD. Now, this one should come as no surprise if you've been following the Humble Choice bundle, because Etrian Odyssey 1 and 2 HD remasters have also featured in bundles in, I'd say, the last, 3 or 4 months, maybe? So it's, not surprising to see the third one eventually make it to the Humble Choice bundle as well. If you're not familiar with the franchise, this is a classic dungeon crawler like a first-person turn-based dungeon crawler, which originally appeared on the Nintendo DS. And I wasn't familiar with this franchise, except that I've covered number 1 and number 2 in previous Humble Choice Smash or Pass episodes. So that's about the limit of my knowledge. Obviously there's a fair bit of exploration to do, lots of different characters to go dungeon crawling with, RPG elements, all that good stuff. This one came out in June 2023 and it currently sells for $60 Australian. So again, if this interests you, the bundle is a really cheap way to get your hands on this game. It does have de novo DRM, so keep that in mind if that's a problem for you. There is also a third-party end-user license agreement, so you might want to give that a read as well. De novo, I just don't get it anymore. People hate it. It doesn't seem to work. It just makes things perform worse, and there are ways around it if you're that way inclined. I just don't get it, especially for a single player. Anyway, it's there. Deal with it or don't, basically. It is Steam Deck verified at least, which is nice, so you can play this one handheld on the go. Let's check out some of these reviews. Very positive, 89% of 550. It's not giving me a breakdown of lifetime and recent. Maybe that's just because there's not enough reviews, maybe no one's reviewed it in a while. But it does sound positive. Here's a good example, 63 hours in, great story and characters, a lot more characters than the previous editions, which is nice. Story diverges in the middle, so there's more replayability as well. Dungeon crawling and mapping gameplay is fun as usual. Completing main quests and side quests provide experience, which is nice. They can use bonus non-combat XP to level up your fodder characters to harvest resources. Okay, so it sounds like they've just iterated on the previous games and improved things, really. This user has 260 hours. Got into the series around 218 and 100% of the DS version of Etrian Odyssey III. So I 100% of the HD remaster on expert difficulty. 210 hours in-game time, 80 to beat the first ending, and I still really love this game. This is the best of the HD trilogy for newcomers. Interesting. So if you've been on the fence about this one, or if this might be the first bundle you've picked up in a while, this could be a good entry in the series if you just wanted to check it out, if you're into sort of, you know, JRPG, anime style games, dungeon crawling, that kind of thing. You might actually enjoy it. For me, it's not overly appealing. And I'm not sure if I ended up getting the last 2 games in previous bundles in the end. But I'll most likely get this bundle, and if I do, I may end up trying this one out, but it's not particularly appealing to me, so for me, I'd say pass.
Bummer.
Alright, moving on, and the next game in the bundle is Bread and Fred. Now this one I have seen before. This is a co-op platform game, as you can see here, with the classic pixel graphics and everything like that. We play as a couple of penguins, Bread and Fred. And as you can see, there is a little bit of a tether system going on, so you really have to work together to avoid, well, this kind of catastrophe here, where you're dragging each other down into a pit. It does look very fun. I believe it is entirely co-op, so I think you would only really get value out of this if you had someone to play with. But it's all about the platforming and the co-op. Let's have a look here. This goes for $22 Australian currently. It was released in May 2023. Not too bad. There are a few bundles as well, but I don't think there's any here that are better value than what you'd get with the Humble Choice bundle, if you're interested. It is Steam Deck playable, not verified, so some text is probably going to be hard to read, and it sometimes shows different controller icons that don't relate to the Steam Deck. But it sounds like the game works, so you might be able to tolerate that and enjoy the game regardless. Not seeing any DRM or end-user license agreements, which is nice. Okay. Looks like they are still maintaining or updating the game in some sense, so that's a positive sign. There was an update as recently as January. But I think as far as, you know, indie sprite-based platformers go, you know, it's probably solid. So if it's your kind of game, you might enjoy it, especially if you've got someone to enjoy it with. Let's check out some of these reviews. What have we got here? Mostly positive lifetime, 79%. Recent, mostly positive, 73%. Let's have a look. Oh, okay, this was last month. Multiplayer is broken. Does not work at all. There have been no updates on this issue in over a month. Interesting. Let's see if that becomes a common theme. Not quite seeing anyone else saying that, but we'll see. This person has 100%ed Super Meat Boy, Fez, Celeste, Hollow Knight, and countless other platformers. Okay. The walking speed alone makes me want to uninstall. On solo player mode, so there is a solo mode, the rock swing makes no logical sense. The timing is complete nonsense. Alright, so maybe it replaces your second penguin with a rock that you've got to swing around to get places. One of the worst games I've ever played. Alright, that might be a little bit extreme. It might be fun in multiplayer, but the physics in single player are so broken, I couldn't get past the first swinging part of the tutorial. Any game that forces me to spend that much effort getting through the tutorial is not worth my time. Okay, is it hard or is that a skill issue, perhaps? Really fun, really hard. Maybe we were just bad. Overall, made some memories playing this, so thank you. Cool concept, really forces co-op communication. An awesome chill game to play with someone on the couch. I'd recommend not stressing stuff and using checkpoints. Fair enough. Game is so hard when you play with an absolute... okay, so choose your friends wisely, because apparently it's quite difficult and everyone needs to sort of carry their own weight and work together. I don't know what to make of this. It seems like a flawed sort of game. It is cute and a fun concept, but I think there are probably other co-op games you'd probably pick before this one, unless this one really appeals to you for some reason. I don't know what this one does much differently to what else is out there already, especially if some of these reviews are to be believed and there are some bugs with multiplayer and single player is almost not worth playing. I don't know. It sounds hard to recommend. For me personally, I don't think I would really give this one any of my attention, so probably a pass for me.
Bummer.
Alright, the next game in the list is 0 Hour. Now when I heard 0 Hour, I immediately thought of Command & Conquer Generals 0 Hour. But that's probably because I had Command & Conquer in the mind from Tempest Rising. This one, however, is unrelated. This is a tactical FPS, online team-based gameplay that takes place in a variety of fictional locations. Fair enough. First-person shooter, online, tactical, realistic. They're the tags. So it's a bit of a gun sim, I guess. Looks like there might be some stealth elements as well. Looks interesting. I've actually never heard of this before. Apparently it's been out since 2024. Currently sells for less than 15 Australian dollars, so bugger all. Interesting. I don't know where this one came from, to be honest. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the developer or the publisher either. In any case, it looks like a pretty standard, realistic, tactical shooting sim. Sort of reminds me of the old Rainbow Six, or possibly the most recent Rainbow Six. I haven't played one in a very long time. But it looks like you sort of plan your entry, raid buildings, rescue hostages or take hostages, I guess. Yeah, it all takes place in sort of more urban environments, indoors or in the streets. It does look interesting, but also looks generic in a way. I couldn't separate this from any other realistic tactical sim, so there you go. Reviews are mostly positive, 78% lifetime, but recent reviews are mixed, 65% are positive, which is a huge dip. So I wonder what's happened there. Let's have a look. It does require a third-party end-user license agreement and is not supported on Steam Deck at all, which is interesting. Okay, there are some downloadable content packs as well for between $5 and $9, mostly aesthetics and soundtracks by the looks, so nothing like pay to win, hopefully. Let's see the recent reviews. 20 hours, not recommended. We can't buy your next game if you can't fix the last one. You think we're falling for another rug pull? Okay, that's a bit harsh. Or maybe it's fair. Ready or Not, but with a tenth of the budget and set in Bangladesh for some reason. Not a good game. Just play Ready or Not. It's literally what this game is trying and failing to emulate. Ready or Not, of course, is another recent tactical sim, which also reminds me a lot of Rainbow Six. And yeah, I guess this is a very, very similar concept, but maybe not executed quite as well. Someone out there tricked Humble Bundle. Interesting. They're saying it's a trick that this was included in the bundle. Devs do not support this game anymore, and any sign of life is just a PvP. It's okay for co-op with a friend, but not as good as Ready or Not or SWAT, if that's the kind of experience you're looking for. Dead game. Ready or Not is superior. It's alright. But get Ready or Not. So that probably sums it up. It tries to do things that other games are already successfully doing and probably fails at that. Sounds like it's a dead game. Even with the boost of players probably coming from Humble Choice, it doesn't sound like this is going to have a new, lease on life or anything like that. And as the comments suggested, it looks like the devs might have abandoned this to try and make a new game. And if this game is still broken and unfinished, then that might not be a great sign. If it's your kind of thing, if you've got a friend you want to play co-op with, it sounds like it could be alright. But again, if you're into this kind of thing, you probably already got Ready or Not, and you probably have a better option anyway. So I don't really know who this is for. Certainly,
Bummer.
Not for me. Okay, and the next game in the bundle is Smalland Survive the Wilds. And now I'd never heard of this one before, but looking at the gameplay trailer, I thought I was looking at Grounded. Seems to have a very similar concept of people being shrunk down in a yard or out in nature and having to contend with what are now giant bugs and other critters that probably just want to eat you. It looks almost like there's some Monster Hunter elements to it in terms of the combat. And I did see a picture here. This man wearing a mantis armor. It almost looks like, in Monster Hunter, you grind monsters for their parts and then turn them into armor and weapons. Maybe there's a bit of that going on. But on top of that, it is an open world survival crafting game, so there probably are a fair few comparisons to Grounded, not just in theme, but also genre. But we'll see how this stacks up. Experience a big adventure on a tiny scale. Enjoy multiplayer survival in a vast, hazardous world. Interesting, so it looks like multiplayer is a fair focus for this one. The game was released in Feb 2024, so it's about 2 years old, and currently sells for $51, so still a fair price tag for this kind of game. So if it is something you've been watching, bundle is a good opportunity to get it for a decent price. It is Steam Deck playable, not verified. Sounds like the game runs fine, but you might need to do some tweaking of the graphics setting, and there's a launcher as well, which might cause you some grief, but once you get in, you can play it. Some text might be small as you'd expect, but it might be something you can put up with. There is no DRM listed, but there is a third-party end-user license agreement if that worries you, so feel free to give that one a read. Let's have a look at some of these reviews. Lifetime reviews, 81% very positive. Recent reviews, 87% very positive, so it's actually trending upwards, which is interesting. I wonder if we're still getting updates. There was a Christmas event. There was a content update in October, so it looks like every few months something is still coming out, so presumably they're not done with the game yet, which is nice. We'll have a read of some of these reviews. This gentleman here, 18 hours, negative. I want to enjoy the game, but there's more to dislike than appreciate. Building is clunky, poorly explained. No proper attack command for pets, traversely slow, awkward and tedious. Combat and weapons lack variety and quickly become repetitive. Mining is mind-numbingly dull, so that sounds like there could be a fair bit of grinding to this one. Quest structure is uninspired. The sheer amount of bugs is lame. You can't summon your pets sometimes until you release control of your tree and then re-obtain it. Okay, maybe I need to play the game to really understand what that's referring to. So it sounds like there's good, but it sounds like it's flawed. Let's keep reading here. 135 hours, recommended. Just finished the game. Disappointing that it doesn't seem like there's much in the works to be added to it in 2026, but I still highly recommend it. Play with a few friends and family as a group, which is how I prefer to play survival games like this. Okay, sounds like it's, all about that multiplayer. Okay. What else have we got here? 93 hours. I first played this when it entered early access, and I've revisited it briefly a couple of times since then. It was always enjoyable, but clearly an early access title. Now, however, it is very polished, with tons of content, new mechanics, new areas, new enemies. An outstanding experience, and I'm glad to have picked it back up. And that's a pretty glowing review. 383 hours. This game is my number 2 survival crafting game, which is just behind Grounded 1 and Subnautica, which are tied for first for me. I just finished my second playthrough and look forward to a third in a few weeks. Interesting. So people do love it. Let's have a look at a negative. Not recommended. I would rate it neutral, but it just misses the mark on enough things to sway negative. I had fun, the combat was basic, creatures and mounts were interesting, diversity was okay, base building was good, all the pieces are there, but it just misses the mark. Looks like the complaints are around the storyline and an empty world. There's enough visual things that were well made, but at the scale of your character it doesn't matter, and no incentive to go explore something. Interesting. This creates a game where you only focus on objectives and beat the game in 10 hours. Wow, okay. So we've got some people that can play for 380 hours, and some people that can finish the game twice in 20 hours. So your mileage may vary. Depends how you approach these games, I guess. If you beeline the end, looks like you can smash it out pretty quick, but if you want to build and explore, play with your friends, looks like you could have enough there to keep you going for a long, long time as well. For me, I do like open world surviving craft, and I do like the concept of being shrunk down and having, big predators like scorpions and bugs and things. Oh, there you go. He's actually tamed that scorpion by looks because he's riding it. Yeah, I think I'd be interested to give this one a go. I probably wouldn't actually go out of my way to buy it. If it wasn't in the bundle, I probably would literally think this was grounded and not pay a second look at it. But now I know, and now it's in the bundle, and I'm probably going to check it out. So we'll count that as a win. And finally, we come to the last game in the bundle, Hard West 2. Once again, another game I have never heard of before. Hard West 2 is a journey to the heart of darkness in the American West. Take control of a supernatural posse and catch the mysterious ghost train. Outsmart, outcheat, and outgun your enemies in this turn-based tactics game set in a Wild West world where nothing is as it seems. Interesting. So Wild West theme, turn-based tactical game. Yep, and you can sort of get that from the gameplay trailer here. It looks interesting. I'm not usually a fan of this setting, like the old American Wild West does nothing for me at all. And I mean, if I'm wanting a turn-based tactical game, I'm currently horribly addicted to Mugenics, so I probably don't have room in my schedule for another one. And no disrespect to this game, I don't know it's going to reach the same heights as Mugenics. Let's put it that way. Alright, this was released in August 2022. Currently sells for around 44 Australian dollars. There are some bundles here. Looks like it might come with... Oh, yep, there's some Western bundles. That kind of thing. There are some DLCs. Actually, that looks like it's for the first Hard West game, which also appears in a bundle here. So if you really like the franchise, looks like there's plenty more to play. Steam Deck is completely unsupported. Although there's no DRM listed, so it's not clear why that is. Often you'd see that if there's a kernel level anti-cheat, but I'm not seeing any disclosure for that, so that's interesting. What do the reviews say? English lifetime reviews are 81% positive. Recent reviews are slightly dipped to 76%, mostly positive, so still in the ballpark. Let's have a read. Not recommended, 17 hours. Bland writing, low enemy variety, middling to terrible voice acting and direction, and mechanics that feel closer to a puzzle game, with how you have to chain kills than any time of typical turn-based tactics. Think tactical breach wizards if it controlled worse, had enemies placed about scattershot, and had no rewind button. So if you hit the 2 key one too many times, you get yourself killed. Alright. As a veteran XCOM player, I must first say that I've been looking for an enjoyable, similar turn-based combat game for a while. This is not it. Yet. Okay. I've finished it in normal difficulty, first playthrough, and I'm in love with the game. Wait, what? Looking for an enjoyable, similar turn-based combat game for a while, this isn't it. But they've finished it and they love it. So it's not XCOM. It's its own thing. Fair enough. Game mechanics are still poor, still raw. They are nowhere elaborated as an XCOM or 4X game. Okay, so it sounds like a simpler entry, maybe more unique. It doesn't follow the same, I guess, format as other tactical games like XCOM. Maybe that's not always a good thing. We'll read on. This one is a not recommended with 40 hours. It's a fantastically made game with a lot of heart, a lot of love and care was put into making the game look and play well. However, I don't recommend it to other tactics players because it isn't a tactics game in the way you'd expect. It's a puzzle game that looks like a modern tactics game, and the core game elements prioritize the puzzles over tactics. Gotcha. So that's a couple of reviews now that say a similar thing. It's not what you'd expect from a normal tactical turn-based game. This is a game that's lost within itself. The idea is good, but they simply couldn't realize it. The story won't catch your attention, everything else is kind of bland. Let's find a nice high playtime positive review and see what they have to say. I think there's a 50 odd here. 52 hours positive recommended. General pros: interesting storyline, nicely developed characters, immersive atmosphere, dialogues don't feel flat. AP regain after each kill is an interesting mechanic, and unlocking skills with poker combinations from found cards. Okay. Cons: it took some time until the game hooked me, but after that it was pretty good and an overall enjoyable experience. Interesting. It does sound interesting, and as a huge fan of turn-based tactics, as I said, Mugenex is currently consuming every waking thought that I have, which is a bit scary. This one looks like it might simplify things a bit, and it's focused on more puzzles, doing things in the right order to chain things together rather than the tactics, which doesn't appeal to me a whole lot, I would say. Neither does the theme. Yeah, I don't know. If I saw this scrolling past, I probably wouldn't give it a second thought, to be quite honest. In the bundle, I mean, if I end up getting the bundle, I'll probably end up with this game. I don't see myself installing and playing it, so I think it's fair to say this is just a straight up
bummer
pass for me. And there we have it. Those are all the games included in the Humble Choice bundle for March 2026. And there are some highs and lows in this one. I think we had 4 yeses and 4 passes, which is kind of average, because you can't expect that every game is going to be for everyone, right? But the yeses here, I think, outweigh the negatives big time. Tempest Rising, as I mentioned, been on my wishlist for literally a whole year since it released. Perfect opportunity to finally get into it. Chants of Sennaar, very unusual looking game. Something that was not on my radar at all, but interesting, intriguing, and I'm definitely going to check it out. It looks like there is a variety here for all sorts of different plays, all different genres. We've got co-op action RPGs, we've got dungeon crawlers, we've got co-op platformers, we've got tactical shooters, open world survival crafting. I think Smalland is the other one here that's probably worth a look above the other ones. It just seems the most fleshed out, the most interesting, and the most well received. Other ones like Hard West might appeal to you, but maybe just don't have the high scores or the positive reception that some of the other games have. Still, as with a couple of these, like for example, Bread and Fred, you might just like to have that in your library, because one day you might have a perfect opportunity to play a good co-op game with someone, and this might just fit the bill nicely. So as always, it comes down to your personal preferences, I guess, and what's sort of on your wish list. What sort of games are you looking for? However, I think there's enough quality here to say that, for me, this is a smash. This bundle is definitely one I'm going to pick up. Tempest Rising is the tipping point for that. It's the main reason, but there's enough quality through the rest of the titles that I think, yeah, I'm going to have a few games to check out here that I'll probably enjoy. So that's a win for me. But what about yourself? Are you going to pick up this bundle, or is it not doing it for you? Let me know in the comments down below which game is going to be the deciding factor for you. Or if you're going to say no thank you, pass this one, and see what they offer next month. And we'll wrap it up there. If you like this video and want to see more like it, please consider subscribing. It helps me out a lot and keeps you in the loop when new videos drop. As I mentioned at the start of the video, I do one of these Humble Choice reviews every month, but I also cover indie and VR games in between. So stick around if you want to check out some of those. Thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Cheers.